He was clearly a young master from a newly rich billionaire family. Yet he couldn't afford a bottle of drink costing around 1,000 won.
야, 너 내 통장에 돈이 얼마인 줄 알아? 몰라. 왜? 12자리 숫자가 맨날 바뀌거든.
12자리까지 따질 거 없이 만 원짜리 투자하면 되거든?
At this moment, the embarrassed young heir put away his previous arrogance and had no choice but to obediently take out the loose change from his pocket and hand it to the girl. But as he was leaving, he still showed a face full of disdain for the girl.
들어와서 잔돈은 못 받겠다.
And the girl, facing the young heir's unreasonable behavior, could only dejectedly wipe her hands on her clothes. Little did he know, this was precisely her most painful secret, because she suffered from an incurable congenital heart disease. At only 18, her illness caused her fingernails to turn black. Her only solution was to often have her father paint them a bright red color with flower petals, as if this way she wouldn't be reminded by life's alarm clock. But even if she covered up the blackness of her nails, she still couldn't hide the sense of loss and regret in her heart. And the young heir would never have guessed that the target of his recent arrogance and rudeness was actually his childhood sweetheart, with whom he shared innocent times. A cherished friend lost during their growing years, and someone who, through a twist of fate, would become entangled with him for life. Jae-kyung was originally the only grandson of the Chaebol family. Having lost his parents at a young age, he was extremely spoiled by his Chaebol grandfather. Thus, he became a decadent, spoiled heir. Every morning when he went to school, he would ride his motorcycle to the classroom door, and at night, he would drive his Porsche and frequent lavish nightclubs and bars. But unfortunately, after the Chaebol grandfather passed away, the will stated that he, the sole heir, could only inherit all the Chaebol's assets after fulfilling a specific condition. And this condition was that he must transfer to a high school in a remote small mountain village, and without dropping out, obtain a high school diploma before he could return to inherit the family fortune. Otherwise, he would only receive percent 0.1 of all the inheritance.
됐고, 어? 당신 아웃이야. 이미 전학 수속 마쳤습니다. 강재경 씨 임의대로 해지하실 수 없음을 알.
Not only that, the requirement also stipulated that before graduation, Jae-kyung could not use anything his Chaebol grandfather bought for him, including villas and luxury cars, helplessly. Jae-kyung could only take the bus back to his hometown alone, following the address his grandfather left. He navigated 18 bends of the mountain road, and finally found a small farmhouse courtyard. But in that dilapidated and old cabin, there were many heartwarming photos of him and his grandfather. Even in the old cabinet, there were many old miscellaneous items, and a faded photograph lying in a corner. But all these heartwarming things did not arouse even a tiny bit of his interest, because at this time, he looked down on this remote place from the bottom of his heart, only thinking of graduating as soon as possible to go back and inherit the family property. When night came, he was kept awake by the chirping of insects and croaking of frogs in the mountain village. Just then, a frog suddenly jumped onto his face. This further strengthened his desire to escape the mountain village. The next day, when he stepped into the classroom of his new school, he ran into the girl who worked part-time at the supermarket.
다 알지? 서울에서 온 전학생. 자기소개하고 그 빈자리에 앉아.
It turned out her name was Yeon-hwan, and she was also the class monitor, but Jae-kyung showed great disdain for her words. Instead, he set his sights on the big guy sitting in the corner.
저 맨 끝에 떡대. 저 쌈 좀 하냐?
명식이? 명식이 자식이 얼마나 빡센 줄 알아? 제가 아무거나 건드기만 하면야 빼다구도 못 추래. 안 갈고 치는 게 좋아.
Jae-kyung suddenly had a bold idea, since he couldn't drop out, then let the school expel him, so he directly challenged the big guy. Arriving at the rooftop, Jae-kyung fought the big guy without saying a word. But what Jae-kyung never expected was, that night the big guy's family not only wasn't angry that their son was injured, instead, they sincerely prepared a heartwarming dinner for Jae-kyung.
살가 생긴다 그러면서 그런 거야. 상처 났다 아물 때 마음도 아물고 생각도 여물고. 명식이니 애한테 맞았다고 삐져갖고 뭐 같이 노네 안 노네 그러면 내 손에 맞아 죽을 줄 알아. 알았나?
Jae-kyung had thought that getting expelled for fighting would allow him to return to Seoul. But in the end, the warm and simple villagers even packed food for him, who lived alone, and kindly brought him a flashlight to light his way home. On the way back, Jae-kyung felt very confused by the unreasonable villagers.
천사야? 천사냐고. 아이씨.
But then he was terrified by the dark country path. However, just then Eun-hwan suddenly appeared behind him. It turned out the beautiful and kind Eun-hwan was worried he would get lost in the unfamiliar mountain village. So she came out of kindness to lead the way for him. But Jae-kyung was not only unmoved, he even called Eun-hwan an ugly freak, running out at night to scare people. But Eun-hwan said there was something behind them even scarier than him.
야!
Just like that, the two of them, one in front and one behind, cast mottled shadows on the path. And at this moment, the nighttime country path was like a tranquil painting, as if depicting a beautiful story of a summer night. The flowers by the roadside also bloomed quietly, emitting bursts of delicate fragrance, appearing exceptionally beautiful under the gentle touch of the moonlight. At this moment, Eun-hwan picked a flower and put it on her ear. Then she left the timid Jae-kyung behind, gloating all the way as she gradually walked away. But even if the road they once walked together had beautiful scenery, it still didn't change Jae-kyung's mind about leaving the village. Furthermore, his earlier attempt to get expelled by fighting had achieved nothing. So Jae-kyung then thought of bribing the principal with money. But the result was a respectable and loving admonition from the principal.
그럼 모르고 가도 서울만 가면 된다? 아니지, 모르고 가면 딱지 끊기지.
Under the principal's upright guidance, helpless, Jae-kyung could only leave dejectedly.
그놈의 성질머리는 뭐 좋다고 물려주셨어? 그렇게 빨리 갈 건 또 뭐 있고?
After a series of failed plans, Jae-kyung was at his wit's end. So he thought of skipping school and slowly waiting until graduation. He called his bad influence friends in Seoul. Before long, 2 luxury sports cars came roaring. Then Jae-kyung got into a sports car and sped off. This really opened the eyes of the village students. And Eun-hwan also witnessed everything from the window. As expected, Jae-kyung didn't come to class the next day. Eun-hwan decided to look for Jae-kyung after school. At this time, Jae-kyung was squatting by a small shop, eating snacks. Suddenly, he saw 2 children in raincoats. Out of curiosity, he followed them and ended up at an orphanage. In the heavy rain at that moment, a woman was collecting clothes. Her diligent appearance suddenly reminded him of his own mother. So he followed the woman into the house, and through the glass window, he saw a man cutting a boy's hair. That heartwarming scene reminded him of his own father. Suddenly, just then, that painful memory surfaced in his mind. Even though he lived a life of luxury since childhood, unfortunately, his parents had already left him due to a car accident. At this moment, he rushed into the heavy rain, trying to recall the long-lost family affection. The rain soaked his clothes. Tears blurred his vision. He could only struggle painfully in the whirlpool of memories. After school let out, Eun-hwan found Jae-kyung's home. But at this moment, Jae-kyung suddenly fainted. When he woke up again, he found his classmates pressing him down forcefully, and a female classmate, after taking a needle on her hair, pricked his finger with it. Unexpectedly, with one prick, Jae-kyung's illness showed improvement. When he woke up again, he saw the beautiful and kind Eun-hwan preparing food for him.
놀랬잖아. 이제 좀 살만해? 감정심 만드는데 봤어? 왜 그렇게 보는데?
처음 봐.
뭘?
음식하는 여자. 넘친다, 볼 거라.
At this moment, Jae-kyung finally felt the simplicity and honesty of the countryside. Actually, his nature wasn't bad. It's just that he lost his parents at a young age. He suffered a blow. And gradually, he closed off his heart. He was growing up in a daze with the attitude of a spoiled heir, as if this could numb his lonely heart. After that meal, he slowly let go of his burdens and prepared to study well in this warm, little mountain village. This day, the students were rehearsing for the graduation ceremony's stage play. But Jae-kyung pretended to have an injured leg, wanting to escape. However, this caused Eun-hwan extreme anger. Just then, Eun-hwan, due to momentary agitation, suddenly felt a sharp pain in her chest and fainted on the ground. But Jae-kyung was still gloating.
야, 걔 체했나 보다. 손 따봐.
But the next second, he realized Eun-hwan seemed to be really sick. So he ignored his pretended injured leg and hurriedly carried Eun-hwan on his back, rushing towards the hospital. At this time, Eun-hwan's condition had worsened. Although the doctor and her father strongly urged her to stay in the hospital, she still pretended to be very healthy. But when she was alone in the hospital room, her tears could no longer be held back and flowed down.
훈련 어디까지만 하게 해주실래요? 공수나 공물을 드렸거든요.
A few days later, the classmates took Jae-kyung to visit the town market. While the classmates were only thinking about how to eat, drink, and have fun, Jae-kyung walked alone to a stall and bought a pair of beautiful white socks. The next day at school, he gave the white socks to Eun-hwan. He told Eun-hwan not to work part-time anymore, and not to exhaust her body. Eun-hwan clutched Jae-kyung's gift tightly in her hand. But when she turned around, tears had already welled up in her eyes. At this moment, she wasn't sad because of her illness, but because she finally felt that boy's affection. After that, Jae-kyung never skipped school again and actively joined the stage play rehearsals. He also let go of his arrogance and gradually bonded with his classmates. He would also do part-time jobs with his classmates on weekends. It's just that while others were diligently picking vegetables, he was slacking off, munching on vegetable leaves. But when he received the lowest wage, he felt it was unfair. And after Eun-hwan scolded him for slacking off, he was ashamed and could only remain speechless. On the way back, he completely ignored the bumpy ride of the farm vehicle and didn't even notice the sun slowly setting, because his gaze was entirely fixed on Eun-hwan's delicate and lovely face.
그렇게 이쁘냐?
어?
내가 그래서 눈을 못 떼네 그냥.
야! 내가 무슨 네 얼굴이 이뻐서 본 줄 알아? 머리에서 땀 냄새가 얼마나 나는지 냄새는 숨을 못 쉬겠네.
But his hesitant manner and clumsy excuses couldn't hide his gradually intensifying love for Eun-hwan. But when the farm vehicle passed by the orphanage, Eun-hwan got off the vehicle, and Jae-kyung curiously followed her. It turned out Eun-hwan grew up in the orphanage, and the school principal was also the orphanage director. Eun-hwan had considered him her father since she was little.
내가 고아인 걸 알면 사람들이 항상 미안해하더라. 잘 가. 잘해다 줘서 고마워.
야! 익숙해지지 마. 나도 엄마 아빠 없어.
At this moment, the two kindred spirits in suffering seemed like an accidental encounter in life. They carried their respective similar wounds and met in a corner of time. From then on, Jae-kyung completely opened his closed heart and began to allow Eun-hwan, this elf-like person, to dance within it. But Eun-hwan's illness grew increasingly severe. This day, she fainted again and was hospitalized. Only after asking the doctor did Jae-kyung learn that Eun-hwan's heart was at its weakest point. The moment Eun-hwan woke up, she saw Jae-kyung also wearing a patient's gown.
여기서 뭐 하냐니까?
한기도 난다.
나 어디 알아?
빈혈. 의사 선생님 그러던데? 잘 먹으면 낫는데.
Those few days, Jae-kyung stayed in the hospital, taking care of Eun-hwan. Those few days, the two newly adult teenagers suddenly had many worries on their minds. And it was those few days that ultimately became many worries in the times to come. This day, Jae-kyung begged the doctor to do everything to treat Eun-hwan. He told the doctor he had a lot of money, as long as Eun-hwan could live. But the doctor regretfully told him it was too late.
우리 은하니요. 이제 19살이에요. 저 아직 좋아한단 말도 못했단 말이에요.
But the doctor advised Jae-kyung not to be impulsive. Her heart couldn't bear turmoil or excitement, because love would take her life. If her emotions were too joyful or sad, her heart could stop beating at any moment. But as soon as her condition improved slightly, Eun-hwan went back to her part-time job. Jae-kyung found her and told her not to work so hard anymore. He didn't want to lose her. He wanted her to stay by his side always. But Eun-hwan said she had to work hard to save money, because she wanted to build a house with many windows and let all the children from the orphanage live in it. But as time passed day by day, Eun-hwan still felt the approach of death. She asked her father, the principal, to let her move in with Jae-kyung. She wanted to spend her final days with the boy she deeply loved, because she didn't want to die with such regrets. Even if that boy had already forgotten everything, she just wanted to be a datura flower at death's door. Then she moved her luggage to Jae-kyung's house. But Jae-kyung was very angry when he saw this.
너 제정신이야? 남자 집에 살고 들어오겠다는 게 제정신으로 할 소리냐고.
유경아, 나 배고파. 우리 밥 먹자.
가라니까. 너 안 보고 싶으니까 가.
The purpose of life is beauty, not mediocrity. Eun-hwan would rather enjoy the beauty of love and shorten a life whose end was already foreseen. And the love in Jae-kyung's heart also surged like a tide. But when he spoke, it turned into a cold, sharp blade. It wasn't that he didn't want to live with her, but rather he didn't want to lose his beloved too soon. Every word he spoke was like a needle pricking the other's heart. But behind it all lay his deep unease and fear. He was afraid Eun-hwan would leave, afraid that love would disappear. So he used sharp words to cover his inner vulnerability. He could only disguise himself with stubbornness and pride, as if only this way could he protect his fragile lover. But only he himself knew. Behind those harsh words were endless worry and longing. Until one day he came to the orphanage to rehearse, and saw the children's stage play.
놀러 올게.
그래도 가지 마.
열밤 자고 올게.
And at this moment, a few simple lines from the stage suddenly struck Jae-kyung's mind, like a bolt of lightning, as if gently touched by the hand of fate. Dormant memories surged forth like a tide.
놀러 올게, 은하나. 그래도 가지 마. 열밤 자고 올게. 약속.
But on the way back to the city, a car accident made him an orphan. His memories were completely sealed away, along with his disappeared parents. It turned out this village was where Jae-kyung was born. At this moment, the fragments of memory quickly pieced themselves together, like solving a mysterious puzzle. Endless regret and joy surged in his heart, as if he had found a long-lost treasure. He ran to find Eun-hwan. Those emotions buried by time finally rekindled at this moment.
은하나. 내가 너무 늦게 왔다.
네가 오든 안 오든 이제 관심 없어. 공연도 하기 싫으면 하지 마.
또 놀러 올게, 은하나. 열밤 자고 올게.
연아,
진짜로 열밤만 자고 오려고 했는데 그날 엄마 아빠가 돌아가셨어. 그래서 못 왔어. 보기 싫었어. 너도 여기도 기억 다 지우고 살았어. 안 그럼 나 못 살 것 같아서. 미안해.
Jae-kyung found his forgotten childhood in the heavy rain. But Eun-hwan's future was like a blurry painting, destined to lack crucial colors and outlines. But love is like colorful paint, itself simple and dull. But when mixed together, it can transform into dazzling colors. Jae-kyung also made up his mind at this moment. He would rather endure the pain of losing love in the future than not love bravely in the limited time and life he had. Perhaps love will be defeated by the hardships of fate. Perhaps love is destined to be eternal separation. But precisely because of this, love is so tender and eternal. Afterward, Jae-kyung counted down the final days with Eun-hwan. He would dye Eun-hwan's nails red with flower petals with her. Although this didn't fit his former rebellious self, for Eun-hwan, he was willing. He would also wear an apron with Eun-hwan and make delicious food. He sits. He jumps. He was also willingly teased by Eun-hwan.
She would tie his hair into 2 cute little pigtails and apply her foundation on him. Jae-kyung would also secretly take photos of Eun-hwan's lazy sleeping appearance. They would also ride a small scooter to feel the wind in the mountains. They walked one after the other on the field path. The afterglow of the sunset poured onto their shoulders. When Eun-hwan blew on a dandelion, she also made the most extravagant wish.
갑자기 데려가지 마세요. 작별 인사는 할 수 있게 그 시간만 주세요.
What a humble wish this is. She knew her days were numbered. She didn't dare to pray to heaven for them to be together forever. She merely requested to say goodbye to him when it snowed. In the stage play Eun-hwan was rehearsing for, Jae-kyung happily played the most unconventional role of a maid. In the final graduation photo, Jae-kyung held Eun-hwan's hand tightly. And together with their classmates, they preserved all the memories of their youth. Sad days will always come. Eun-hwan's illness grew more severe. Her body deteriorated day by day. Her complexion grew paler each day. This day, Jae-kyung celebrated Eun-hwan's 19th birthday early for her. He gave Eun-hwan a colorful glass bottle. Inside were flower petals and the pills Eun-hwan usually took. But Jae-kyung said they were wishes, one by one. As long as she ensured she ate one every day, then a wish would come true every day. At this moment, their love was vast amounts of pain and immense longing, plus a little bit of warmth. And yet, for that little bit of warmth, they were willing to endure vast amounts of pain and immense longing.
왜 네가 좋을까 생각하다 네가 또 보고 싶어졌다. 병이다. 너도 참 징하다. 꿈속까지 따라다니냐? 너랑 같이 있으면 밤도 낮 같다. 네가 너무 환해서. 바보. 과다 복용하지 말랬지.
못 볼까봐. 하루에 하나씩만 보면 이거 다 못 보고 죽을까봐.
I brewed all my passion into wine. But you came, travel-worn, and only took a sip. From now on, you will become a past affair of my heart. Ultimately, it was written as different paths, same destination. On the night of the graduation ceremony's stage play, the big guy gave the role of the prince to Jae-kyung. Jae-kyung also put those white socks on Eun-hwan. On stage, Eun-hwan endured the fluctuating beat of her heart and joyfully performed the most beautiful and happiest dance. Finally, in the fairy tale of the prince and princess, she and Jae-kyung completed a most simple wedding.
그럼 키스할 때 왜 눈 감는지 아오?
서로가 서로에게 너무 눈부시니까요.
눈 감은 그 짧은 순간에도 네가 보고 싶을 거야.
The night the stage play ended, they sat on a bench on campus. Eun-hwan felt a little tired and gently leaned on his shoulder.
아무것도 못해줘서 미안하다.
바보. 이렇게 행복하게 해주어서. 졸립다. 나 조금만, 3분만.
At this moment, snowflakes began to fall from the sky. Eun-hwan's wait for that first snow was finally over, but she never woke up again. You came from summer and drifted away from the swing in autumn. I asked Summer and the swing, how long will it take for me to forget the pain? But they said to wait until the day it snows. So I wrote a letter to Winter. But now regret has become the reader of the letter. Every sentence is like falling leaves. After the graduation ceremony ended, the lawyer found Jae-kyung. He told Jae-kyung this was all his grandfather's arrangement. Grandfather hoped that when Jae-kyung returned to his hometown and found something worth cherishing, and for which he could give up everything, he could hand over all the property to him. Years later, Jae-kyung returned to this village. He wanted to build a house with many, many windows for Eun-hwan. She once said, when the snowflakes hit the window 50 times, they would meet again. Love is an eternal and undying topic. It might be a glass bottle holding flower petals, or were perhaps heartfelt words in a medicine pouch, or maybe fingernails dyed with flower petals and a kiss in the rain. It could also be the longing for the first snow and riding a small scooter in the mountain breeze. In the past, we wrote and depicted it countless times, casually or with heavy ink. Yet we could never outline the true appearance of love. It is a gentle breeze, a soft rain, moistening silently. It is clouds, ever changing. It is a bluebird bringing hope. It is the sweetness of possession, the bitterness of loss, the beauty in illusion, and the melancholy after disillusionment. It is everything that exists in this world, whether by chance or by design. Perhaps this is love. Perhaps this is love. And this very journey, from arrogance to sacrifice, from wealth to warmth, is a beautiful and surprising one. When I first watched this film, I was expecting a light and romantic story. Instead, what I found was a journey with such profound depth that it truly moved me to tears. This heartbreakingly beautiful film is the 2006 classic A Millionaire's First Love. Tell the story with heart, tell the story with sincerity. I'm going to bring you to a world where true emotions unfold. I'm Pixie Lo, journeying with you so that we both may grow. See you in the next video.